Okay, so right now it's time for us to guess. Right now it's time for us to start building our REST API proper. You understand? So it's time for the REST API. So what we're gonna do now is this. So right now we have to install the Django REST Framework package. You have to install the package now. I'll open a new command prompt, and down here I'll simply say make sure your virtual environment is activated, just like my own. I'll simply just say pip install. Let me make this a bit bigger. I'm going to say pip install Django REST Framework, right? It's going to be a single word, Django REST Framework. It's enter, a single word. So while it is installing, I'm going to go down to my settings.py file, go down to your settings.py file in the installed apps region, just over here. I'm going to add a new package called REST underscore framework, REST underscore. The package is called REST underscore framework. So right now, we already have our Django REST framework successfully installed. So back to my blog app. So on the left panel, click on the left panel. So in your blog app, create a new file called serializers.py. So in this file, we are going to simply create a serializer for our custom user model. So first and first, I need to import serializers. I'm going to say from REST framework, import serializers, right? So I'm going to say class. So I'm going to just say right now, I want to create a serializer that will enable users create accounts, right? So I'm going to just say user registration serializer. So better you give these classes a descriptive name to make life easier for you. So that's what I recommend. So it's called user registration serializer. So we're going to simply inherit from serializers dot model serializer. And right now we're going to have our class meta. It's just like a model form. It's just like a model form in Django. We're going to have our class meta, and we're going to say model should be equal to the custom user. So our custom user model, right? Custom user. We can get that. I'm going to say from Django, but most times we are not meant to use the model name directly. So this is a better approach. I'm going to just say from Django.contrib dot auth dot contrib dot auth, right? We just say import get user model. So right now this is simply this is the best way to do it than having to use the exact name of your user model. That's in the sense. So back here, I'll simply just get this guy, copy and paste here, put in the parentheses, and then the fields I need these fields. I think I need the ID, the email, the username field. So right now, these are the default field that comes with the user model, and the last name field, And right now, over here, these are the custom fields that we added by ourselves, that we had to add by ourselves, right? In a sense, these are the custom field, but what we have here are these are the default fields that come into our user model. And one more thing, we also need to add our password, right? Because create a user, I need to pass in a password. So one more thing. So now let's add this line. Here's the line now. So this line is going to make sure that our password can only be write only. It simply means that our password is going to be hidden. It cannot be seen. It will only be write only. So what we are trying to do here, right? So now we just wrote our user registration serializer, right? So right now we have to also come down and customize the create function. Instead, I have to customize the create function of this serializer. I'm going to say dev create. I'm going to say self and then validated data. So right now, I want to get our validated data, which are this stuff here. So if these data are all valid, we want to create our user, right? If they are all valid. So how do we know they are valid? This is how we know. I'm going to say email should be equal to. So through the help of this validated data, we're going to know if they are valid or not. So we're going to just say we're going to say validated data, then square brackets, I'm going to say email. And I'm going to do the same thing for the username. Then for the username, the password, the first name and the last name, right? So that is how it's meant to be, right? So so right now this validated data holds the correct information. So you get, so right now just come over here and I'll just put in the username. Right now come over here and I'll put in the first name, and that's the same thing I'll do here. Let's use the last name, and here should be the first name, right? So we've got this now. So now just user should be equal to the get underscore user underscore model, right? So is our user now. So right, this get user model simply helps us to get the user model we are using. You understand? So currently we are using this custom user. We are using this custom user, right? So that's what it does. So this is a best practice to use using of this get user model than having to use the actual user model that we called here. You understand? So this is the best practice. So what I'm doing now, so I'll just say new user should be equal to user dot objects dot create. Now just say email should be equal to email. I'll say username should be equal to username, and then first name should be equal to first name, and last name should be equal to last name. So now we just created our user, but we check closely. The next thing you want to do is last name should be equal to last name. So right now we just created our user, right? So the next thing for us to do now is to set the password, right? The password should be equal to validated data square bracket password. So right now we've gotten our password also, and over here I'll just come over here and say new user dot set password, and I'll pass in this password. That's it. And over here I'll say new user dot save. Then we have to return this new user. Return new user. So we have done with our serializers. So what's the next step? The next step is for us to create a view for this serializer. We have to create a view function for the serializer. So now I'm going to go down to our blog app. So in the blog app, now we have a new file called views.py file. So over here, I'll just say def. I'm going to say register. I'm going to call this view register user. Register user. So this view is going to simply it's going to hold the request arguments. And now we're going to just say, so they want to create a new user, right? So we're going to say serializer should be equal to user registration serializer. I'm going to copy this, then we'll paste it here. We have to import it. So before we import it now, so after doing this now, we're going to say serializer should be equal to user registration serializer, and then we're going to pass in an object. The objects are this field. This field we have here. These are the objects we want to pass to our serializer, right? And we're going to just say data should be equal to request the data, right? So we've done that now. We're going to check if we're going to say if serializer dot is valid. We're going to check if it is valid. If it is valid, we're going to simply do what save. We're going to say serializer dot save else, and then we're going to simply return a response. Return response, and we'll say it's called response. We're going to then say serializer dot data. So it's going to simply return the newly created user data. So if there's an error, we are going to simply return a response, and then we're going to just say, serializer dot errors Then we're going to simply return a status message that says, I'm going to say status should be equal to status dot http underscore 400 underscore bad requests. So yeah, so right now we have to do some importing. We have to import this serializer. We have to import response. We have to also import status. So right now, let's say from, let me try this trick, control and then dots. So now if you hold down control and dots, you can be able to import some of the classes and functions in your Django project. So as for me now, I'm able to import this user registration serializer. So we just got that up there. So now as for this response, that's coming from REST framework. I'm going to say from REST underscore framework, from REST framework dot response, we have to import response. And for the status, we have to say from REST framework import status. And if you check it, remember this is meant to be a REST API function, so it needs a decorator. So we're going to just say from REST underscore framework dot decorators imports. I'm going to say imports API underscore view. So I'm going to add a decorator here. I'm going to say at API underscore view. So this decorator is going to simply, it's going to only accept a post request, right? So we've got the function created now. So what's the next thing? The next thing for us to go create a URL for this view. So we're going to work on that next. So right now it's time for us to create a URL for this view. So we're going to our blog app again. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to say new file. I'm going to call it urls.py. Hit enter. So you have the file created. Now we're going to say from django.urls, we're going to import the paths from django.urls import paths. Right now, we're going to also import our views. We're going to say from the current folder import views. And right now, I'm going to, let me make a mistake. I'm going to say URL patterns. I'm sure you guys are familiar with these things already. So I'm going to just say paths. Now just call the URL is going to be called register underscore user. Now I'll say / I'm going to say views dot register user, and then let's just give it a name. Let's just say register underscore user. I love giving them the same values, right? So now they all have the same values. It's not a must, they must have the same values. So once you've done this now, the next thing for you to do is simple. We have to simply let Django know about this urls.py file, because currently our Django project does not know about this file we created. So you're going to go down to your Django project. So the Django project also has a file called url.py. So here's the file. So open it now. Right now, I have to let it know about the URL file we created for the blog app instance. So over here, I'm going to come over here and do that. I'm going to just add a new part, and we'll just add an empty string there, and we'll just simply just say views. Sorry, I'm going to simply just say include blog app .urls. That's it. So you have to import include from django.urls import include. So we've got everything we want set. We've got our URL sets. We've got our views sets. We've got our serializers, our views. We've got our serializers over here set. So what's the next thing? Next is for us to go and try out this thing. It's for us to try out. It's for us to go and try out creating a new user and see if it works. Remember, we're using an API. So it's for us to go and try and see if we can create new users. Now let's see. So our server is currently running. So for us to try it, we're going to use Postman. So VS Code has a beautiful extension called Postman. Go down to your VS Code extension. So click search up Postman. Come on, don't waste my time. You can see we have Postman. The first command, the first one, you have to make sure you have it installed. Yeah, this is it. Make sure you have it installed. Once it is installed, you're gonna see it on the left. It's gonna be on the list of items here. Currently, mine is. I'm gonna click on these three ellipses. I'm gonna say, here's my Postman. So you can see this is the icon. This is how it looks like. You can see it's up here now. So these are for you. Your icon might show up here by default. The reason why my own icon disappears is because that's because my window is zoomed in. So here's how the icon looks like. So I've told you how you can get your Postman. So I'm going to click on new requests. Click on this new request button, this new HTTP request. Click on it. So it's loading up. Okay, come on. It's loading. So I want to try out and see what we've done so far, if it is working or not. So I'm going to reduce the size of my, let's reduce it a bit. So let's see what we are doing. My server is running and we're currently on port 8000. So here's my Postman is opened. So for you to create a new user, it's simple. I'm going to put in our Django URL, which is 127.0.0.1, and the port number is 8000. So right now we want to register a new user. Where is it again? Here is the URL, register user. So I'll copy back to my Postman. I'll paste it here. This is the URL, and this URL supports only a post request. Remember, from the views.py, let me close some of these guys that we don't need. So from the views.py now, you can see it only supports a post request. You can see there. So over here, I'm going to click on this drop down and select posts. So I've got my URL. So once you've got your URL, right now, once you create our user, right? So click on body, and click on the body tab, click on it, and then choose form data, right? So right now, I want to impute our information, which are the email, the username, the first name, last name, and password. So the email now, so once you click on form data, come down here. I'm going to say email. I'm going to just say tests. I'm going to just say, okay, let me just say dan@gmail.com. As for the username, let me just say Daniel. Let me just say Dan. For the first name, first underscore name, I'll say Daniel. It's called Dan. Let me just, And then for the last name, that's a surname. I'll just say Dan. Let's just say Dan Mike as his last name. And lastly, the password. I'll just impute. Okay, we might just put some. I'm trying to remember something I computing. I'll just say Baka 100. Yeah, Baka 100. I'm a Barcelona fan, so that's it. So these are the objects that we are asking for: the email, the username, the first name, last name, and password. Right. So now I've imputed those values. So what's the next thing? So right now, let's click on send, and let's be hopeful that it does not return any error. It's looking like we are already running into an okay. Now click on. So let me reduce the size of this stuff. So right now, click on the send button on top. Click on it. So if everything works, that means we can create users comfortably. Let's hope it works. Right now it says 200 OK. That means it works. So I'm going to raise this up. Let's raise it up. And right now you can see we have our newly created user, Daniel. Remember, you can see now we have a newly created user. Perfect. Go down to my Django admin. If I refresh this place, now you can see we have Daniel. created. So right now we can now create new users successfully. Okay, so right now let's work on logging in the users instead. So and for it to log in users, we're going to use a package called Simple JWT. So over to your browser, look up Simple J. You're going to say Simple JWT. So yeah, the first link, click on it. So we're here now. So here is a guide for you. So click on getting started. Click on the first link, getting started. So we have to install this package called Django REST Framework, Simple JWT. So I'll copy this command, copy back to your Django code. So yeah, just raise the terminal up. So I'll paste the command there. I'll show what's happening. Then I'll copy it. So let's copy it again. Copy this command. Paste it here. Hit enter. Okay, so why is it installing now? Let's keep going to the let's keep going through the documentation. Okay, what else do we need to know? So we have to copy this code down to your settings.py file, copy and paste it in your settings.py file. Yeah. So right now we already have Simple JWT already installed. So now let's copy this command. Let's bring this guy a bit. So over to your settings file. Here is mine. So we are going to copy this command, copy it, and then paste it in your settings.py file, So I'll come over here. So once you paste it there, remove this ellipsis, remove these three dots, remove it, remove this one and this one. So this simply tells our Django. This simply means that we are now switching over to Simple JWT for our authentication. That's what it means. Get so that's what it means. So once you've done that, so you're going to copy these two parts. Copy these two parts now. Copy them and over to your project url.py file. You're going to paste these two parts, right? So just copy it and then to your project url.py. So paste it here. So I mean your project url.py file, that's the file, that's the url.py in your Django project. So you're gonna paste it there. So I'm gonna simply I want to right now remove this API slash remove the API. You must not remove it. It's not a must remove it, right? So I'm gonna rename this to token underscore refresh. So that's better. I prefer that. So yeah, we've got this now. So over here, we have to also import this. We have to also copy these imports, copy it, and then we have to paste it just above. Yeah, yeah, and this is all we need to do, and this is all we need to do, right? So once you've done this now, it's time to work on the login. You get so down to over to Postman. So these are our endpoints. The endpoints is token. For it to get logged, for it to generate the access and refresh token, you have to send a post request to this endpoint, and you're required to pass in your username and password before you can get these tokens, right? So over to VS Code. So on Postman now, I'm going to create a new request. So click on your Postman icon on the left, click on it, click on new requests. So right now I want to create a log. Right now I want to try out the login and see if it is working. Right. So I'm going to say 127. So over here I'm going to put in token. So I'm going to replace that with token. And it should be a post request. And it means click on body and then form data. And right now I'm going to pass in the username. Remember, we created a user called Daniel. If you remember, I think his name is Daniel. Okay, username is called Dan. Username is Dan, right? So username is Dan, and the password is Baka100. back at 100, right? So let's try. So right now, click on the send button. Let's hope it works. Tran, I think it didn't work. I can't even say why. Okay, right now I think let's run the server and see what the problem is. So my server seems to be. Ouch. I don't even know what the problem is. Let me just raise this guy. Let me close. Let's run the server here. My server is currently. I'm gonna close this. Let's run our server again to be sure. Okay, my server was not running. Sorry. We have a syntax error. Server was not running. So let's see. So let's run the server again. That was the issue. Run server. Python -spy run server. Hit enter. Okay, our server is back again over here. So we are passing our username, the password, the endpoint is the localhost/token, and then click on send. Right now we're expecting to get. Right now it says 200 OK. That means it was successful. Right, so let's confirm that. Take this up. Okay, right now you can see we've got our refresh token. Right, we've also got our access token. Understand? So we've got these two now. So what's the next phase? So now right now user can sign up. They can generate their token. So the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to show you how to use this token to gain access to protected routes. You understand? I'm going to show you how to use it. But for now, the users can sign, they can create their accounts, they can also get their tokens, right? So the next thing we want to work on is how they are going to use this token to access protected routes to get. So working on that next.